Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh Muhammad.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
First, I'd like to thank you for your hospitality and generosity.
It's my absolute pleasure.
And last time we've talked about al-hajr, which is to bind your wife in bed. But some men go so far in turning their backs towards their wife to the extent that they don't talk to them at all. Is it correct?
This is not the way it was prescribed. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribed al-hajr and turning the back to the wife in bed as a mean and as a methodology of fixing a problem, it was for a reason. And don't you think that by abandoning your wife in bed that she's being punished and you're not? You too, you've been suffering too because you needed some, no. But it's an opportunity for reconciliation, reviewing the account of both of you, not only her. And unlike what Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, and his father said that al-hajru la yakunu illa fil firash, that the concept of hajr should not pass the door of the room, should be only on bed, so that you still have to be with her on the same bed, but you turn your back.
So you shouldn't bring it out to your children, out to the living room where you're eating breakfast when she comes out.
Absolutely. So what you're suggesting that you're not talking to her, you're not giving her the salam and so on, this is ridiculous. As a matter of fact, Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, may Allah be pleased with him, narrated that the Prophet ﷺ said that it's not permissible for a believer to desert his brother for over 3 days, over the period of 3 days. So the maximum time is 3 days.
So what about a wife?
Yes, listen to this. He said 3 days. يُعْرِضُ هَذَا وَيُعْرِضُ هَذَا. Each one of them is turning his back from the other and he's trying to ignore him. They're going to the masjid at the same time, maybe entering, seeing each other, but they ignoring one another. So the Prophet ﷺ said, the best of all is the one who begins by saying Assalamu alaikum, breaking the ice. If this is Ya Abdul Rahman, that's your concern. If this is the case between you and every Muslim, any Muslim, what about between you and your wife, especially if you have children? That can really affect them and leave a great negative impact on them, seeing that the parents are not talking to each other, having frown face. So they're laughing, smiling, and whenever they're on the phone, everything is normal. And once they see each other, frown face. So one should understand the proper meaning of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to do. Also, we have to understand that al-hajr is not prescribed unless you try the first the first methodology, and it doesn't work. If it's not effective, by exerting all the effort to give her the sincere, kind advice with gentleness, reminding her with what Allah said, with what the Prophet ﷺ said. And if it doesn't work, you may go to the second one. It is very important also to notice that if you are an outsider, but you notice that your friend has a problem with his wife, or your brother, or a family member, don't sit your back and say, this is none of my business, I don't care, let them take care of their business together and so on. Because this is one of the best deeds, is to intervene and try to reconciliate. And this is one of the ways, or one of the things which the Prophet ﷺ said, that even if you try to phrase your own words in a way that which should not really happen, saying that, your husband talked to me and he said that he loves you so much, and he doesn't know why all of that have happened, and he feels sorry and so on, even though he didn't say any of that. If you are in the position of talking to the wife, if you are the brother, if you are a family member, or the sister.
This means lying is permitted in that case?
In this case, it's for a good cause, and it's not really lying. One day he must have had said that I love her.
Aren't lying permissible in 3 cases? And this is one of the permissible.
So complimenting your wife, assuring her that you love her, or trying to reconciliate and being an arbitrator in between, trying to fix a problem. This is such a very, very good deed that you can do.
Are we commanded to try to bring the ties back together?
We are, definitely. As I said, that this is one of the best deeds, reconciliating between 2 Muslims who are having problems. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ permitted you even to make up a story and say that he feels sorry or she feels sorry, and that They're waiting for the moment that you can come back and everything will go back to track and so on.
We can make up.
You can do that.
You can say,
yes.
Fulana said that she misses you very much and she's sorry she said this.
Yes.
And the husband goes, wow, that's great. But you go in and tell her, you know, Fulan, he said that he missed you and he was sorry that you guys had a fight.
Yes,
So they meet each other, they're like, you know, no one says anything. They
that
just
really
walk
breaks the ice and reminds them with positive, you know, memories they have, the good memories, instead of focusing on what caused the problem.
That bag without the hole in it.
No. Also, during the incident when the Prophet ﷺ avoided his wives for a month, the Sahaba did not ignore the case. No. Many of them were very upset. Some of them were even weeping and crying, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reconciliate or to please the Prophet ﷺ. And some were not quite. Abu Bakr and Umar, they came to the Prophet ﷺ, and we discussed as how Umar ibn Khattab was trying to open a chat with the Prophet ﷺ by bringing up any story to make the Prophet ﷺ smile.
To cheer him
by
up.
taking him out of the mood and bringing something else to his mind and so on, change the subject, you know. But once you have this concept, this intention of, you know, relieving and removing the cause of the problem, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will assist you with that. Among the etiquette of using al-hajj as a procedure prescribed to fix a problem which originally happened from the wife, is that the hajj should be only at home, in your bedroom.
So you go on vacation.
So if I said that the children should not be a part of it, what about taking your problem outside to the public?
I misunderstood what you're saying. If you go on vacation, everything's cool.
Taking the problem outside to the public. When a man came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Ya Rasulullah, what is the right of a wife upon any of us? He said, أن تطعمها إذا طعمت, is to feed her whenever you eat, whenever you feed yourself. أن تكسوها إذا كسوت or إذا اكتسبت, and to clothe her whenever you make money or buy clothes for yourself, you know. And if it happens and there is a problem, avoid striking her face or disgracing her. And if you happen to use the second procedure, which is al-hajj, then that should be only at home. وَلَا تَهْجُرْ إِلَّا فِي الْبَيْتِ, that should be only at home. Should not be brought to the public.
And Sheikh, it shouldn't be brought also to the kids, right?
That's
Absolutely.
public. Yeah, the kids are your immediate public.
A lot of families, they just fight in front of the kids.
A lot of families use the kids as weapons against each other.
Yeah.
A smart wife also can seek reconciliation through somebody else who's a family-related person or a friend, and so on. You remember when Amr ibn al-As got his son married to a very respected woman, and he checked on them, and he asked her, how is my son with you? She said, نِعْمَ الْعَبْدُ, he's an excellent servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All night long he's praying, all day he's fasting. That's it. So he understood that Abdullah, his son, is not paying enough attention to his wife. And after a few days, he had not even had a privacy with her. So right away, since he's a father, he consulted the Prophet ﷺ. He invited him to him and said, Ya Abdullah, I was told that you do this and this and that. He said, yes. He said, what about your family? And he stated what we talked repeatedly about, that your family have rights upon you, and this have rights upon you, and so on. So give everyone the rights. And he advised him to specify time for his wife, and specify time for his ibadah, so that to fast on every other day, and to finish the Quran, the maximum once every 3 days, because Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As used to finish the Quran once every night. When he suggested to him that once a month is enough, he said, I can afford more than that. And when he suggested to him that fast every month 3 days, he said, I can afford more than that, and so on. Without the interference of a third party, things can get really, really bitter and worse.
They can go from bad to worse to even, the absolute
To
bottom.
divorce.
Yeah,
From
fast.
bad to worse to divorce.
I know some brothers that I know that they're at that stage where they went from bad, they didn't go to anybody to help. The families are supposed to come in and help you out, to worse quickly and close to divorce. So, mashallah, they need to.
I know it's, especially for people who live in the West and don't have big family members and so on, it's best to have connections with the Islamic centers, with the Imam. Because with a simple phone call and with the interference of the Imam, that really can solve the problem before it is really inflamed.
Now, let's move to the third one.
You want to move to the third one? You want to tackle that big one?
Beating.
Beating, Sheikh. What is this about?
There is nothing in the Quran to hide. Because as believers, we have to understand that the one who revealed the Quran is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is well acquainted with all our needs, with what we do, with what's best for us, because He is Al-Hakim, Al-Khabir, the most wise. So a believer should accept Allah's judgment, Allah's advice as the best. That's it. That is the only way to fix our life. When Muslims were abiding by the Quran and the Sunnah, those problems did not exist at all.
Success was there.
But look at the divorce rate increasing in the Muslim society nowadays. Why? The more we call for what's called women liberty, freedom, and so on, and so on, I consider it enslaving woman by putting her to work in a place where it doesn't suit her at all. I'm amazed when I see a woman who's wearing a helmet and she is standing in a construction site. Why? I'm proving myself. I'm taking my part and role in the life. And I wonder who's taking care of your children. I hired a babysitter. I put them at that place. So
they're in daycare.
Yes.
They're here.
And statistically, even though there's freedom in the West, there's still inequality. No matter what they do,
women
the
still
nature
make
of the
less
woman
money.
is the nature of the woman.
Yeah, women still make less
and
money.
there's
They still less.
you always find them in, for example, as a teacher or easy jobs. You don't. It's still there.
Easy jobs.
They cannot be equal.
Well, before Abdurrahman starts cracking his knuckles to get ready to deliver some beatings, why don't I'm going to go and try to rustle us up some Nescafe.
please.
And inshallah ta'ala, we'll go back when I stop. When I come back with some Nescafe, inshallah.
Yes, please. Inshallah.
With milk.
Some good Nescafe.
Thanks.
It is.
Yeah.
And the subject is very, very sensitive. Many people avoid talking about that. That's a fact, but they like to avoid talking about it because they think it's something which should not be brought up. But I like to do so. You know why? To teach ourselves first. What did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mean with that? In the farewell speech of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I like every single word was uttered by him in the farewell speech. Of course, every word he said. But the farewell speech carried a lot of meanings because this is like, the essence of Islam, the conclusion of everything. He put emphasis on taking care of women. And I wish every single woman and man recall that. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ فِي النِّسَاءِ. Fear Allah concerning women. So if you think that you are at home, have the power to do whatever you want to do, remember, Allah is above you. Allah is ever watching. So fear Allah before you do anything that would hurt. اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ فِي النِّسَاءِ. You have the right upon them that they should not allow anyone to enter your house, to step on your bed, whom you dislike or don't approve. But if they do and they violate that, which is a big violation, the Prophet ﷺ said, you may strike them, discipline them, but ضَرْبًا غَيْرَ مُبَرَّةٍ, very lightly. So the purpose is not to take revenge.
Like in which
it's not wrestling. The Sunnah explained, well,
Slightly, like
exactly.
with this, like with a miswak.
When you have your child and he's misbehaving, and you grab hold of a pencil and you strike him with a pencil, you spank him with a pencil. The purpose is not to hurt. The purpose is to give a message. You have made a mistake. right?
No.
And you did not pay attention when I advised you once and twice and 10,000 times. Even when I stayed away from you on bed, you didn't notice. Al-Hajr on bed is one of the signs that the wife is really nashes, is really arrogant. If she does not respond to that, she does not get the message, then we go to the third one. And it is very, very limited and should be understood this way. The Prophet ﷺ in the beginning forbade men from subjecting their wives with any harm, whether striking or beating. So there came Umar ibn Khattab. And you know Umar ibn Khattab, before Islam, he was a very violent man. Umar ibn Khattab once had buried his own daughter alive before he had accepted Islam. Out of disgrace, she's a girl. And now Umar ibn Khattab, a man with soft heart, that he had two marks of frequently crying.
Stains. His face was stained from tears.
So, radiyallahu anhu arda. So whatever the Prophet ﷺ said, he complied immediately. He took everything strictly. So when the Prophet ﷺ forbade them from beating or hurting their wives, everybody stopped. But comparing to what was before Islam, when a woman was just being treated as a slave, you know, now she's free to do whatever she wants to do in the boundaries of halal and haram. She's free to argue with her husband. She's free to inherit him. She's free to own her and possess her wealth and do whatever she wants to do with it. And her husband cannot hurt her feeling or beat her. So there came Umar ibn Khattab to him and said, Ya Rasulullah, ta'assadna nisa, they are acting as lions and tigers. They become overpowering us, overcoming us. So the Prophet ﷺ once again permitted them to discipline them lightly. So what happened? A great number of women came to the wives of the Prophet ﷺ complaining that some of their husbands have, started beating them and so on. So the Prophet ﷺ addressed the Ummah in the masjid saying that many women came to my family members and informed them that they have been beaten. وَلَيْسَ ذَلِكَ بِخِيَارِكُمْ. The one who does so is not the best of you. Indicating what? Even though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribed it as a mean of fixing problems, but the Prophet ﷺ considered it should be the last mean, and it is disliked, and one should not really use it unless in very, very certain specific conditions. If the Prophet ﷺ have never ever used it, Anas ibn Malik, may Allah be pleased with him, have served the Prophet ﷺ for 10 years. He said, the Prophet ﷺ, I have never seen him beating anyone, or even saying to me a bad word, or screaming in my face while he was just a servant. Nor did he tell me to anything I did, why did you do so, or why didn't you do it? And if he would order anyone to do anything which is beyond their capacity, the Prophet ﷺ would give them a hand. If this is the way the Prophet used to treat his servants, if this is the way the Prophet ﷺ used to treat his wives, then many men being misinformed, thinking that I have the power to break your bones. I have the power. And by the way, if a lot of people think that men in some Muslim countries do so, they should really see what women do in some non-Muslim countries. Where I had a neighbor that, before they enter their house, they keep hugging and kissing each other before us and say the sweet words. And I'm very, very offended because that should be done in privacy. In a few minutes, once they enter and they lock the door, we heard a big noise and they were fighting, beating each other. And the man was bleeding. And of course, she called the cops, where they picked them up, and he was thrown in jail too.
It happens a lot in the West. There's a lot of women that get physically abused, and like really abused.
So both extremes are prohibited or forbidden.
So basically what we're learning here is if you have to beat your wife, it's not that you tee off on her like she's a man, you just start swinging on her, but it's with a small stick, like a miswak, And it's not really to hurt her, it's to
And
physically,
avoid the face, avoid the
it's
sensitive
to,
part.
it's to hurt her ego, it's to
So
hurt
it's
her
like
pride.
symbolic. It's
Yeah, it's a
It
symbolic.
is symbolic, and remember, it is related to an-nushuz. And an-nushuz is from nashaza, which is a high part of the land.
And it's the third step that you take after you've given her good
And
advice.
can never be used unless you
Unless you
exhaust the first
And the second.
second.
and the second. And the Prophet ﷺ was very, very amazed and surprised. How could a person beat his wife as a servant or as a slave, then by the end of the day he wants to embrace her sexually? How could this happen?
Hey baby, come here, I just blackened you up.
No. So the Prophet ﷺ is putting things in context, explaining to us what to do, saying that the one who does beat is not the best of you. There are so many alternatives. So it should be considered as the last mean, and one should understand that even though it is prescribed as one of the means and the last mean, it should not be used the way you think. It should be used as a mean of disciplining and a mean of giving a message that you are at fault. Things have to be much better, and should not be used before exhausting all the other means of giving the advice and al-hajr fil madaji and so forth.
This clears up a lot of, for me anyway, a lot of misconceptions that people in the West and non-Muslims have. That they believe that all Muslim men are oppressive to their wives. They all beat their wives. They all, and they say, well, in your book it says beat your wife, but they don't understand how it was revealed and what it really entails. So I think this clears up a lot of stuff for me, and I can go out and I can tell the people, no, that's not the truth. This is the way it is. This is the way, it was revealed. This is the way it should be. What do you brothers think?
And moreover, I want to add a point, like Sheikh said, the point that the freedom of women, it's not, in fact, if you look deeply at it, it's not really freedom of women. They're using women. Women are becoming a sort of an object for advertisement, for it's like a object to make you buy a product. So that's not freedom. I don't call that freedom.
So you're saying the only
Remember
freedom
one
women have is
thing,
in Islam?
that the Quran is our first and most important bylaw and constitution in our life.
That's the reason I became a Muslim.
But the Quran has been explained in details through the Sunnah.
The Sunnah of the Prophet.
And when the Prophet ﷺ stated that I have left for you two things. If you hold fast to them, you will never go astray. The Quran and my traditions. So in some cases like this, the Sunnah explains as how, the methodology of fixing the problems in details. Taking things out of context and putting it the way you like, cut and paste, is refused, is rejected, particularly when it comes to the Quran and the Sunnah. So, and having bad examples of certain people abusing the system and overdoing things, they should not be considered as the representatives of Islam.
The norm.
The Prophet ﷺ said, اضربوا ولن يضرب خياركم. There is another very important fact before we leave tonight that I would like to bring up. The ayah which prescribes the three means of disciplining is ended up with a great end, which is
فإن أطعنكم
فلا تبغوا عليهن سبيلا.
If they obey you,
and things are back to normal, so
Go back the way they were.
against them no way, no mean of annoyance, because there is no need. In addition to إن الله كان عليا كبيرا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used in this ayah two of his great names. Ali,
the Most High,
high. Kabir,
The pride,
great.
the greatest.
So if you think that you are by yourself and she has no mean of defense, Allah is above you.
Yeah.
If you think that you're masculine and she's not, Allah is
What
Kabir.
goes around comes around. Kama tudinu
كما تدين تدان. And if there is any dhulm or oppression, the Prophet ﷺ said that there are three people whom their supplication will never be rejected, whether Muslims or non-Muslims.
The oppressed.
One of them is oppressed, especially if the oppressed one is your wife. because the Prophet ﷺ made it clear there are two sacred rights that no one should go near. The right of the orphan and the right of the woman. So if you don't keep all of that in mind, of course you'll abuse the system. And you will not be a good representative of Islam.
And on Yom Kiyama, you'll be in deep, deep trouble.
Yeah.
Because you'll have all them on your record.
And I can't imagine a life where a beating is involved and it will still continue. And they will have a relationship which is based on love and
the time that you need to break out.
Yeah.
So I think we need to call it quits for today. And inshallah ta'ala, we can pick this up next time. If the Sheikh will grace us with his presence, and if you brothers will stop by, this will be a good thing.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Inshallah.